Howdy folks, Jamboree here, and welcome to another episode of Film Chums. Joining me is my co-host, Sora Star.
Hi!
So in this podcast, we're going to be talking about a franchise related to a very, very recently released movie. We're going to be talking about the Enchanted films, Enchanted and Disenchanted. Now, have you seen Enchanted before? Like, have you had any experience with this franchise before we've done this podcast?
Honestly, no. Like, I feel I feel I'm familiar with it. Like, I saw the adverts and stuff on TV, and I always wanted to see it, but I just never did for some reason.
It's very surprising because it's a very Sora movie.
It is. Like,
It's one of the most Sorest.
I know.
Yeah, it's one of the most Sorest movies to ever exist. Okay, but to make things interesting, we're going to pit the first Enchanted against Disenchanted. We're going to work out which is the best out of the two. We're going to talk about the first movie, then the second movie, and then we're going to both conclude which we think is the superior movie. So let's begin with Enchanted. In the world of Angelasia, Giselle is an innocent, beautiful fairy tale princess who longs for a prince. One day, a troll attacks her home, and the dashing Prince Edward saves her. The two agree to get married right away. A royal decree that angers Edward's evil stepmother, Queen Nerissa. Nerissa disguises herself as an old lady, and tricks poor Giselle into falling into a fountain which turns out to be a portal to New York. While in the real world, Giselle befriends lawyer Robert and his daughter Morgan. After a troubling divorce, Robert tries to raise Morgan with a serious and realistic worldview, but Giselle changes everything when she brings her whimsy into the family's life and encourages Robert to be more romantically attentive to his girlfriend Nancy. Meanwhile, Nerissa sends her doting minion Nathaniel to New York to kill off Giselle before the prince can find her. So Sora, what did you think of Enchanted?
I thought it was very nice.
Aww.
Very nice. I'm so taken by this movie. It's so wonderful, and I couldn't stop smiling all the way through it.
Yes.
Everything was just so charming and lovely, and even like the sad moments you're still like, but overall I loved this movie. I thought it was great.
I'm so glad. So glad I've met a super fan, because I saw this movie years and years ago. I think when I was about maybe 16, 17, not too sure. And like, I remember loving it, but then rewatching it and being like, wow, actually, this isn't just like a cute movie. This is a really well-crafted movie. And like you just said, it's like wholesomeness personified.
Yeah.
You can't get mad at this film.
No, and I thought I wouldn't like it, and I'll tell you why. It's because like I thought that it would be making fun of everything that I liked about Disney. Like I know that's why I didn't watch it, because I didn't want like the princess character to not act like a princess. I didn't want I don't know what I was expecting, oh, she comes into the real world and she finds out everything's sucky, but she never has that attitude. She's always like her princessy self. Like, I thought her spirits would kind of get crushed at some parts, but I mean, they never really did.
Yeah, it's a very sincere and loving deconstruction, because like, it's very self-aware, and it definitely spoofs Disney, but not in a mean way.
Yeah.
It kind of like, look how silly this is, kind of like.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this movie shouldn't work.
No.
The premise sounds like a parody of Hollywood cash cows. Like cartoon character ends up in New York. Like,
it's always New York.
It's always New York, but like,
Why?
but with this film, it surpasses its concept, and there's actually a point to it being set in New York.
Yes.
Because this New York is grimy and dangerous enough to be shocking and threatening to a dainty innocent princess. Plus, a lot of the jokes are made funny because of the New York setting.
Yeah.
Like the whole scene where she's calling all the animals to help clean the apartment. It's like cockroaches, rats, pigeons. That gag only works because the film has gone for like a grittier New York. Every other film in this like subgenre, let's say, always depicts New York as like somewhere luxury and fancy and nice, and like this. Where's the joke in that? But with this one, it finds the humor in a Disney princess being stuck in downtown New York and like embraces it.
Yeah, I really like that part, and like the fact that they come out of like a drain pipe. Like, I always remember like all of the like when I think of this movie, like that's the imagery I get, is like this beautiful princess coming out of like a gross drain pipe on the ground, and I mean, And it's pretty funny.
And I like that when Giselle summons all of those animals, at first she's kind of like, ooh, these are your animals? Okay, fine. And she's still, even though she's picking up rats and cockroaches, she still handles them with love and care. And it's like, oh!
Yeah, she's like, new friends, yay!
Yeah, oh. I'd say that's the main appeal of the Enchanted films.
Yeah.
Is Giselle.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%.
Freaking
100%.
love Giselle. Like, you were saying before how, like, you couldn't stop smiling. I bet it was because of Giselle's personality.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, if she was in the movie, there wouldn't be a movie. We wouldn't be talking about this at all.
Yeah, and, like, Amy Adams sells that character
She
so
does.
well.
Like, she's so
She's
perfect.
so into it.
Yeah.
Like, it's... Like, I'd say the casting in general for this film is like, flawless, but, like, Amy Adams stands out the most.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine anyone else playing this character. She really does come off like a cartoon Disney princess in live action.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the closest we'll ever get, probably.
Yeah.
It just works.
You see, I've been wandering very far and long tonight, and I'm afraid nobody's been very nice to me.
Yeah, well, welcome to New York.
Thank you.
Right.
And I like that she's a jumble of different Disney princesses, like Snow White,
Yes.
Cinderella, Aurora, but she's still her own character.
Yeah.
Like, they've taken aspects and attributes of, like, classic fairy tale princesses, but, like, made them a bit more exaggerated.
Yeah, and I can see, like, some of the princesses we have now, like Rapunzel, even, like, taken from her.
She's a Frankenstein of different Disney princesses.
Yeah.
But also like iconic in her own right.
Exactly, because you can really see, like, the Snow White, like, inspirations in the Sleeping Beauty and even the Cinderella parts. And then Ariel as
absolutely.
well, like, in her curiosity with things, and, like, oh yeah, that's, like those were kind of the 4 princesses. I was like, she's definitely, like, these are, like, the core ones.
The film very rarely winks to the audience about like Giselle's resemblances to these characters as well. Like, you never get there's maybe like 1 or 2 like a little on the nose bits,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it's up to the audience to interpret. Oh,
Yeah,
that's like Snow
yeah,
White. Oh, that's
exactly.
like Cinderella. So one thing that I really have grown to adore and appreciate on rewatchings of this film is Giselle's character arc.
Yeah.
It's so well written. Because, like, she's introduced as being very optimistic, very naive, very innocent. But, like, very naturally throughout the film, she starts to become more conscious of reality and
Yeah.
herself as well.
Yeah.
And, like, she starts to realise, oh, wait, I have other emotions and other aspects of me and other sides to me besides the whole Disney princess tropes.
Yeah, when she discovers what anger is.
Yeah, that's actually a really powerful moment.
Yeah. And she doesn't know how to express herself because she's never been angry before.
And she's like happy that she's feeling something besides the usual emotions.
Yeah.
Like, because the thing is that, like, sometimes it's healthy to be angry.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, it's very healthy for her to realize, oh, I can be angry. I'm allowed to be angry.
It makes me so... Oh, sometimes you make me so...
Make you so what?
You make me so... So... Angry! I'm angry.
Are you alright?
I'm angry. I'm angry!
Are you okay?
I'm wonderful.
And she also feels jealousy later on in the film as well. Like, the whole film just fleshes her out from being this, like, Disney cartoon princess into, like, a real, textured woman. It really does.
Yeah, I really love Giselle's relationships with all the other characters. Like, her relationship with, like, the father and the daughter, and even, like, with Nancy and the prince as well. They'll just have their own, like it's really clear what their relationships are between each other, and I think they're explored really well. I love the part where, like, her and Morgan go shopping with their dad's credit card.
It's
That
so
was so
cute.
cute. I know. And then I love that, like, Giselle is, like, helping the dad realise, like, his own feelings.
Yes, yes.
Because I thought that, when I saw that the dad was having trouble with Nancy, I kind of thought that Giselle was gonna, like, her story was gonna, like, parallel theirs, but it never did. It kind of just, like, shifted.
Yeah, it could have gone best friend's wedding direction, but it didn't. I'm glad. Like, Giselle could have, like, realised she likes Robert and, like, try to intervene, but she doesn't. She really doesn't. Like, she become... It's weird to describe, but I would say that in the film, Giselle sort of becomes Robert's wingman.
Yeah.
It really does. And, like, you were mentioning Giselle's relationship with Morgan, and what I really love about that relationship is that Giselle is filling in a void, but not replacing her biological mom.
Yeah.
Like, because of, like, Robert's character, Robert is very, like, no fairy tales, no magic, no whimsy, stay serious, everything has to be serious. But, like, Giselle comes in, floating, gliding in, this eccentric princess, and just, like, makes this little girl have a chance to be a little girl.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. I love that the film isn't just a rom-com, it's also a mother-daughter story at the same time. And, like, yeah, they managed to, like, give time to both of them.
I really love how, like, you can tell, like, I love that they didn't make Nancy, like, the horrible, like, other girlfriend character, because they could have easily just made her, like, super evil, like, try to, like, ruin Giselle's life and destroy her relationship with Morgan so that Morgan will like her, and it would just been this whole, like, we've seen that before loads of times. But I'm glad.
Yeah, we have.
I'm glad that Nancy's just like, my man doesn't know how to express himself. He's not being like the charming prince that I'm hoping that he is, because she's at her. You can tell that that's all she wants. She just wants him to be romantic and spontaneous. And even when Giselle sets it up that he's taking her to the ball, she's like, really? We're going to a ball? That's so not like you. And he's like, I know,
exactly.
it's not like me at all.
I also find it really cute and funny how Giselle reacts to Nancy. Like, Nancy is like being the jealous girlfriend, but Giselle doesn't even realise the situation. She's that innocent, naive, and she's just like, hello, Nancy, you're really nice, hi!
And I mean, she's probably never experienced jealousy before, so...
Yeah, she hasn't. She doesn't want it. She doesn't understand, and like she's from this really wholesome, innocent universe where no one actually probably has sex. Yeah. So like, she's probably, in her mind, she's like, oh, why are you mistaking that? I mean, like, she doesn't even get shy or embarrassed when Robert catches her in the shower. Yeah, like she has no shame.
Yeah. Like, coming into this movie, I didn't, like, I knew it was going to be about, like Giselle, like, this princess coming into New York and just seeing how she reacts in that setting. What I didn't expect was this, like, family drama.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm so glad it was there, because it just added another, like, human element, especially. Like, I loved the part where, like, you find out his dad's, like, some relationship lawyer, and then there was, like, that couple that had split up, and Giselle goes, oh no, they split up, and she just can't accept this, and they're like, oh yeah, we hate each other because no. And Giselle was like, oh no, but look how beautiful she is, are you just gonna let her go? You can't do that. And then, like, that comes back later on.
Usually when you have the whole, like, dad is working a very adult, serious kind of job in these family films, that job is usually completely irrelevant to the rest of the film. Yeah. It's just a job for the sake of a job. And they're always the workaholic. This film didn't go that route. It didn't make him a workaholic, and it made his divorce lawyer job fit into the story.
Yeah.
Because he already had, like, this kind of, like, jaded idea of love and marriage and that kind of thing, and, like, how it works out, how it doesn't work out. Mm-hmm. And, like, being a divorced lawyer...
Yeah.
And seeing that people can come back together, seeing that people can work out, that adds to his arc.
Yeah.
It's not a job for the sake of a job.
Yeah. Because it could have been anything.
Yeah. It's not the student going like, I guess he could be this. And like, because it fits into the story, kids can care about it more.
Yeah.
Because there's so many times where you see these family films where the dad has a serious, important job, and it's like, why would kids care? Why would kids care? But because he's a divorce lawyer and he's dealing with this divorce, the kids get interested in what that divorce plotline means to the rest of the story, particularly how it connects to Giselle.
Yeah, because there's been a few movies I watched as a kid where, like, I guess, like, the boring adult stuff. And you're kind of like, I don't know what on earth Stanley Ipkiss's job is. I just care about the mask being silly. You know, and like, I still don't know what his job is.
I mean, look at the Smurfs. Neil Patrick Harris's character is a bloody perfume marketing designer. Why? What has that got to do with the Smurfs? Before moving on to anything, I really want to, like, dive into the romance.
Okay, yeah.
Like, the central romance, like, because I really love how Robert and Giselle both get something from each other.
Yeah, and it's like, lovely. And it's so gradual and, like, it's not rushed or forced and...
No, very well paced. Like, Robert helps Giselle to, like, face reality, explore herself, and reevaluate what true love means, while Giselle helps Robert to believe in whimsy and magic and how those kinds of things can be applied to adult life. Like, to not give up to your inner child.
Yeah.
And, like, I like that everything boils, with their relationship, everything boils down to how romance can be a fairy tale and flawed. Love's amazing, but also love has its obstacles. I love that.
I think this movie came out at just a really good time, because you know that if it came out now, they would have the love thing just be, like, they would be more, like, realistic with it. And that's how I feel anyway, judging by, like, the last few Disney movies that we've had.
Yeah, they would have.
They get rid of the, like, true love stuff and all the whimsy and the wonder, and it's just kind of like, this is how it works, and this is just how it is now, and like, and that's sad, but I think it came out at a good time, because you do have, like, the kind of best of both worlds, where we were kind of in a period of, this Disney's true love nonsense is just nonsense. But then the other part is like, oh, but kids like that stuff.
This film manages to do what Disney's trying to do now with a lot of the new live-action remakes. Like, it's self-aware, but it's not cynical. Like, it knows what it is. It knows what it is, but it loves what it is.
Yeah, and that's what I really came to appreciate about it, which is what I thought it wouldn't be, which is why I never watched it.
I also really liked how they developed the chemistry between Robert and Giselle.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
Like, you could really feel something being built up between them, but, like, they don't act on it yet because, like, even they don't know.
Because Giselle is, like, pining over Edward, and then Robert likes Nancy, but... like, you can see that, like, but Giselle and Robert have something, and then, but they don't want to, like, go there because they're staying faithful to their partners. And it's like,
and and what's interesting is that it shows, as realistically as it can, how, you know what, these couples have ended up together, but there's no chemistry there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say, but that's a bad thing. It just says, like, you know what, sometimes this person is not the right one, and sometimes you belong with someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, you don't see that kind of honesty in a lot of Disney romances, I think.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
For example, I really love the scene where the prince and Giselle go on a little date, and you can really tell that Giselle is clicking in her head now. After learning a more realistic idea of true love, she is now reevaluating, reanalyzing her relationship with the prince. She's starting to go like, okay, do I love this guy?
Yeah.
Does this guy really love me? Are we actually meant to be together? Do we have something here that could work on that little date? But the prince, at the same time, the prince isn't thinking about that because he's not had that same experience.
Yeah.
And there's that it's just a really interesting little scene on the bridge where the prince is just thinking, hey, let's go back and get married. But, like, Giselle in that moment is growing. It's a really interesting contrast.
Why don't we stay here a wee bit longer and get to know each other? And he's like, no, that's silly. Why would you say that?
Yeah, because from his universe, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Well, this has been a splendid date. Shall we go?
Go where?
Back to Andalusia, of course. To be married. To live happily ever after, forever and ever.
Oh. Well, we don't have to go right away.
How long do these dates usually last?
But yeah, speaking of the prince, I love the prince so much.
He's so good.
But-
I knew you'd love him. He's such a himbo, isn't he?
He's such a himbo. He's one of the most himboest himbos ever. I love him so freaking much. What I love about him is that he has all the attributes and traits of like the himbo Disney prince.
Yes.
Where he's like gallant and like brave and all that stuff. But there's a charm to how sincere he
I
is.
know, he's so charming.
His mindset of I am the prince. He owns that. He's like, I'm the
Yes.
prince. I'm amazing. I've got a sword. I have so much fun with this sword. That's a princess. I love princesses. It's one of the best examples of a himbo done well. And like I'm gonna say it, James Marsden. This is probably his best performance.
He was really good in this.
Giselle!
Edward!
Could you? I'm sorry, but could you just be? Could you?
He was so. I love his smile. He gives him the cutest smile.
Yes, he had such a wonderful smile. Yes.
It just always looks so. It looks so cheery and like he only becomes aggressive if he sees that someone else is in trouble, particularly
Yeah.
Giselle.
Yeah.
Like you never get the impression where he's like a Gaston level kind of
No.
like love rival.
Yeah.
He's just a really cheery, happy prince that just likes to see people around him being cheery and happy too.
I know, and like it falls so hard and he falls so fast, but it's only for one person. Like I feel like once he saw Giselle and saved her and asked her name, like that was it. Like it's raid or die. It's Giselle or it's nothing really. And I feel like
Yeah.
if every other woman in his universe just disappears to him and they just don't matter, he's gonna marry Giselle and he's gonna live happily ever after. And he's okay with that.
I love that in a way, even though he's a parody of really old-fashioned Prince characters, he's one of the best examples of positive masculinity out there.
Yeah, I really.
How is
he's
that
great.
possible?
I don't know.
Like he's spoofing all these really outdated like male characters who have no respect for women.
Yeah.
But like he clearly has respect for women.
Yeah, clearly.
Like when Edward's kiss doesn't resurrect or poison Giselle, the prince instantly insists that Robert kisses her instead. He doesn't get angry or jealous. He only cares that Giselle is saved.
Do you know what I really love about like the fairy tale characters? I love how like they misinterpret things in New York. Like I love how the prince is watching TV and he thinks it's a magic mirror. That's so funny to me. And you can't help but go, "Aw, the wee baby."
I like that it didn't go the obvious route of like, oh, those people are trapped in the box. It tried its own thing with that gag.
yeah.
It tried to go with a different thing. What I like about Queen Nerissa is that she is the archetypal Disney evil queen. She is.
Yeah.
But she's a well-written take on that trope. She pushes Giselle into the portal, but that's not the end of her plan.
Yeah.
She's watching, she's smart enough to go like, you know what? Things could go wrong from here. I don't like that. So one bit at a time, she thinks, okay, how do I get around this? She's like, okay, Minion, go in. Ooh, Minion, I can't just let you have nothing to work with. Okay, here's some poison apples. Like, she's a bit like Ursula. She's a very intelligent villain. She thinks far ahead. I also found it interesting how she knows how to seduce her minion. And we never really see that kind of dynamic between like a minion and villain.
I
where
love
like
that.
the minion the minion is gushing and fawning after the villain, but the villain also knows that and plays with that.
Yeah.
Like you don't see that.
No.
It's a really interesting relationship that they have where like you can tell that she's just using him, but he's madly in love.
Yeah, and then he has his own character arc as well.
He does. Yeah, he really and it is a really well done character arc as well.
Yeah.
Because like the only reason why he's like luring himself down to thinking like I'm pathetic enough to do whatever this woman wants.
Yeah.
Because he hates himself. That's his arc. He's got to learn to love himself. Where do you ever see a Disney minion arc that's like that? Besides maybe Kronk or someone.
Yeah.
It's really rare to see that kind of change. I'll admit, it's a little hard to forgive him because he tries to kill Giselle twice. But I like that they at least tried to add dimension to him. He could have just been this sniveling little guy that just follows the queen around and just does her bidding. But there's a little more to there, which adds texture to him, adds flavour to him.
Yeah. And I liked that like Giselle's little chipmunk followed them into the real world as well, and then it was kind of messing with him, so they kind of had their own little like Tom and Jerry thing going on.
They did, yes, yeah. Like that was really well done, because technically the only way they could have a foe for Nathaniel would be the chipmunk.
Yeah. Because
Nathaniel's trying to keep up these acts in front of everyone else. So, like, it has to be the chipmunk. And the chipmunk, bless his heart, does his best. He really does does his best.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of humour to how everyone else is, like, oblivious to, like, this attempt at assassination.
Yeah.
And the chipmunk's like, for crying out loud, come on! That's where a lot of the best comedy comes from Pip. It really does. I like that there's also some tension to the Minions plotline, because he only has 3 poison apples. He only has 3 chances.
Yeah.
So that's a great conflict, because like you're thinking, okay, how many times can Pip foil this guy? How many times? But at the same time, I like that he's always coming up with new creative ways to try and get her to have the poison apple.
And the thing is, like, he always comes out of nowhere. Like, I always go, oh yeah. Like, when they were in the restaurant and they were just talking and they were having, like, Giselle and Robert, they were talking about, like, they were just having a nice chat, and then all of a sudden he just comes down and you go, oh no, he's there.
And like you can tell that it's him as well, even though he's putting an accent, even though he's like got a disguise, you can always tell it's him. He could have just like followed Giselle around like as an old man, constantly going, oh, apple, apple. But he comes up with like new characters, new ways of like dispensing this poison apple to her, like an apple martini. That's genius. That's actually really clever.
Yeah.
Like he deserves a lot more praise as a villain in terms of like how creative he is.
Yeah, I really liked his character. It was very good. So
we've broken down the characters. I think something I really want to discuss are the songs.
Oh, the songs.
The songs are lovely. They're all co-written by Alan Menken, who is considered by many to be a Disney music legend. So there's this like authenticity to the songs. They sound like Disney songs, but they're Enchanted songs.
Yeah.
Like you don't hear those songs and be like, oh, they're just trying to emulate Hi Ho or A Whole New World or something.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they're doing their own thing, but it sounds like a Disney song.
Yeah, 100%. Like I knew some of these songs because when I was doing pantos and that, like songs from all musicals get all jumbled up into pantos, and a couple of these ones made its way into the Cinderella one I was working on, and they are really lovely, and I don't even know if I have a favourite one because they're just all so good. What's the first one? The True Love's Kiss from the animated segment. Yeah. I thought it was so sweet, and like the animation is just so lovely and smooth, and it all accompanies it all, and like it's such a beautiful like 2 minutes, and yeah, I was really happy with that one.
There is something sweeter everybody needs. I've been dreaming of a true love's kiss, and a prince I'm hoping comes with this.
I would say my favourite one would be How Does She Know You Love Her?
That's a great one.
I like talking about having big smiles watching this film. My smiles are the biggest at that bit. There's just so many great moments in that song.
When I was watching it, right, I thought they must have like, because there's so many segments, and sometimes they set up this whole bit just for like a few seconds, and I was like, wow, this must have taken so long to film, and all the choreograph and all the outfits and all the props and the costumes and the carriages and the donkeys and so much. It was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's very ambitious, but it carries on a theme all the way through. Like, it's not just like, here's something to keep your eyes busy. It's like, okay, here's different kinds of symbolisms of love. Here is examples of love. Like, the cutest bit to me is, like, the old people. They're so cute. Yeah. They're so damn cute. And I love the backup singing by, like, that cheery street busker as well, who just joins in with Giselle. And, like, the little bounce between them was, like, so adorable. And, like... And I also like that song fits into the comedy really well, because it's not just a love song. It's about Patrick, sorry, I'm thinking about the actor. It's also about Robert, who's the straight man of the film, bouncing off of like this sudden musical number.
Yeah, he's like, I don't sing. Please don't stop. Please don't.
Like his reactions to the song are just as fun as like the song itself.
Yeah, I always love that in those kind of things where just somebody's so like, but then they get into it by the end, and you're like,
yeah.
Well, does he take you out dancing just so he can hold you close?
I don't dance.
Dedicated song with words meant just for you. Ooh.
And I really don't sing.
So what's interesting about this film is that there are animated segments at the beginning and the end, not done by Disney, by the way. Done by James Baxter. Yep, they're done by James Baxter Animation, who they're a studio that often gets commissioned for like really amazing animation for like Steven Universe, Kung Fu Panda, and it's amazing because like James Baxter's studio managed to really emulate the Disney style really well.
They fooled me. They did a great job.
It does help that Baxter himself used to work for Disney.
What I really love about the opening scene is the lighting. It's so like golden and just bright, and like the sun coming in, it's like it's very golden. I just love that. And like Giselle looks so pretty, and like there's a part in the song where she twirls in front of her window and her dress just looks so fluid. And then like the design of her house and the tree house is so pretty. I'd live there. And then I love how they designed the prince made out of stuff, like his head's like a flower pot or something like that. I don't know, but it was so cute, and I just thought the animation was really, really nice, and the animals looked all good, and the ogre looks good. It just looks. It made me really, really, really miss like 2D animation. And
miss 2D, yeah.
I just wish they would do more of that, because it just looks so good, and you miss it, and sometimes you're like, wait, why can't they do this again? But oh well.
Yeah, they're definitely highlights of the film, and you also buy that the animated segments are part of the live action universe.
Yeah.
Like the intertwined so well.
Yeah.
Mainly thanks to the character design, because a lot of these characters look just like the celebrities that play them. They did a really good job of making them look like them. So when a character goes into the other world, it's like you instantly recognize, oh, it's them. You go straight away, and like that's mainly because you can tell that the artists looked at the celebrities in these costumes and were like, how do we make that into 2D animation? Works so well.
I love the Queen's design. She reminds me of like Yzma, and like just the sharpness of her, and then like when you see her in real life and her makeup was exactly the same, you're like, wow.
It's all down to a T. It's brilliant. Okay, let's talk about the finale. I will admit that despite my complete joy for this movie, I will admit that my only problems with this film, and like where the rough edges come from, would be towards the end.
Yeah.
For several reasons. The finale is where the subtext of the Disney deconstruction just becomes completely on a nose.
Yeah.
It's like the film just stops any kind of subtlety or nuance and like has the villain straight out explain to the audience, hey, do you see? Like the man, he's a damsel in distress now, and the princess is the hero. Do you get it, audience? Do you get it? It's like, oh no, movie, you avoided that for so long.
Giselle!
Oh my, this is a twist on our story. It's the brave little princess coming to the rescue. I guess that makes you the damsel in distress, huh, handsome?
The thing is that, like, I wouldn't say that's a detriment to the whole film, though. It's just a problem with the finale.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of people say, like, oh, the whole film that's the problem with the film. It's like, no. The rest of the film is very, very nuanced about its, like, what it's referencing and stuff like that. It's the finale that goes a bit far out with it. I'm also on the fence about how it wrapped up all the relationships.
Yeah.
It's a little because I don't know. I feel like they could have let I feel like they could have let breakups happen a bit more naturally.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because there are points where it's like, oh, is this technically cheating? You're not really ended things yet.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get overjoyed about Robert and Giselle's like big kissing moments because technically they're kind of maybe still a relationship.
But I mean, Nancy said it was okay.
Nancy gave the green light for Robert to kiss Giselle back to life, but she didn't exactly say, let's break up so that you can snog Giselle. I feel like it could have been done a bit better. I feel like they should have saved the more kind of like free kisses, the more like affectionate kisses after everyone had kind of like had their say and like said, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I don't think that we're meant to be together. And it's like once everyone's all that's done, just like cut to them having their big kiss. Like, that's just my little nitpick with that. How do you feel about Edward and Nancy ending up together by the end?
So, like, it makes sense because Nancy was really like, oh, be spontaneous, be a more Prince Charming, and then literally the spontaneous Prince Charming appears and she's just like, oh, this is more what I want. And then, like, in the way that Edward is, and then like they're kind of more like suited for each another, and like I didn't like part of me was like, I hope those two end up together, even though I know they won't because those people never end up together, but then they did, and I was like, oh well. And what did you think about it?
I am mixed because like I definitely 100% agree with your points, and like it is very sweet and very cute that you've got this himbo that's got so much love to give, and this average woman who's like craving a princely relationship. Perfect, put them together. But let's not forget that this is a film that criticizes the problems with rushing into marriage, yet that's exactly what Nancy and Edward end up doing in the film's end. They end up together mainly to avoid them being sad by the end. And there was definitely an opportunity there to show audiences it's okay if a relationship doesn't pan out. You can get over a breakup. There was a missed opportunity there.
Yeah,
I really do feel like it would have been nice to see those two characters maybe like coping with their breakups and coping being single, and letting the audience know you don't have to marry someone, you don't have to be with someone. But that's just me. I'm very conflicted about like it's a cute ending, but it's
Yeah, it was a bit like, it was rushed, but at the same time, that's just what the prince is like. But it would have been nice for him to have the realization of like, maybe I should get to know somebody, because like when he went on the bridge with Giselle and they realised, oh, like, we don't actually have anything in common, it would have been nice for him to be like, wait a minute, this was the person I was supposed to marry like 2 days ago, and we don't have anything in common. I don't know what, like, he should have some sort of like existential crisis over this. But he never does. He just sees another girl who's head over heels for him and goes like, yep, that's fine. The finale, I like how the dragon design looked, but I don't know if it just looked good because it was dark.
The lighting did kind of help to like hide any possible flaws.
Yeah.
It is 2000 CGI at the end of the day.
Like there was kind of like a kind of blue glistening in the light, and I thought that looked really good. I didn't like that the dragon just dies by itself. Like there was no, like, you know what I mean, it just fell. That nobody slayed the dragon, nobody defeated the dragon. And usually like when the hero is like physically weaker and could never, like, usually that's when they'd outsmart them. There was none of that. Like the reason that Jafar and Aladdin's fight was so good was because Aladdin outsmarted Jafar and made him wish himself into the lamp by accident. And that was so good, but in this movie, it's just the dragon climbed too high and fell over and died. There was no outsmarting.
Again, it goes back to my point that like a lot of the film goes a little downhill in the finale. Like it's the finale's weak compared to the rest of the movie, I'd say.
Yeah.
But which isn't a bad thing because the rest of the movie's like 4.5 out of 5. So like I don't really mind. It's just something I notice. Okay, so in conclusion, I would say that this is simply a well-crafted Disney fantasy rom-com that deconstructs fairy tale tropes and traditions. It's just a great movie. It's rough around the edges, but there's enough charm to its simplicity that you just don't really care about the problems. It's just so wholesome that it's like,
It's not dated at all either.
No.
Like, there's no like 2007 references in it that like you could put this on now, and you don't cringe. Yeah, I really, really like this movie, and I'd definitely watch it again.
And again and again and again.
Yeah, I would.
This is what I mean. Kevin Lima is a really underrated director.
100%.
Like
Because you keep saying that, right? And I'm like, oh, he's just saying that because he likes these few movies.
A goof
but
movie.
literally,
Yeah, goof movie.
every movie,
like everything every movie he's made
has been really good.
Really underrated. Like, people don't appreciate him enough.
Yeah,
to
I
be
agree.
fair. Right, are you ready for Disenchanted?
No.
Me neither. But we've got to do it.
Okay.
We've got to do it. Many years have passed since the last movie. Giselle is living with Robert, Morgan, and a new baby called Sophia, but she misses her homeworld. She spots a billboard for a city called Monroeville, which looks a lot like Angelasia, and decides that the family should move there. Unfortunately, Morgan hates living in her new home and resents Giselle for making the move. Robert has to go to a boring, repetitive job every day to support his family, and Giselle struggles to live up to the standards of Monroeville's snobby community leader, Malvina Monroe. Suddenly, Edward and Nancy drop by to hand baby Sophia the present of a magic wishing wand. Giselle, who feels disappointed by Monroeville, uses the wand to wish for a new life, which transforms Monroeville into a perfect fairy tale setting, where Malvina is a powerful queen who desires Giselle's wand. Giselle is happy at first, but there are many downsides. From Robert now being forced to take dangerous nightly quests, to Giselle rapidly turning into a wicked stepmother who abuses Morgan and desires Malvina's throne. To make matters worse, the magic being used to create Giselle's fairy tale Monroeville is coming straight from Angelasia, which is causing both worlds to fall apart and collide. Okay. Sora, you go first.
No. Right, hang on. You know what? I'm glad that they aged the story with the actors and they didn't just continue it straight on from what we had.
And everyone's aged really well as well, I have to say.
Yeah, really, really good.
How many years has it been like? It's been like more than a decade and everyone's looking great.
Years?
And Patrick Dempsey's becoming a bit of a silver fox as well.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is that I think this film definitely has an interesting premise. Like a teenager dealing with having a Disney princess for a mum, and the introduction of like a wishing wand into a family, and like this perfect town that becomes like a literal fairy tale setting. Those are great ideas on paper, but in terms of execution, in terms of making those ideas happen in this film, no, they did them really badly. There's just so many missed opportunities and so much wasted potential with this one.
Well, when I was watching this movie, it reminded me of like the Cinderella movies, how like the first one was just like lovely and charming and a nice story, but then the third one was like dark and the stakes were upped and she's gonna get deported, she could die, and she's gonna get thrown off a cliff, and like that's kind of what this movie reminded me of, because the stakes were a lot higher and it was a lot darker and there was a magic wand being misused, and it just gave me Cinderella 3 kind of vibes.
The difference is that I cared about Cinderella and her story.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I thought Amy did a great job of, like, Jekyll and Hyde her character.
Yes, I'd say the one thing I will defend about this film is Amy Adams, and I feel like Amy Adams is carrying this film.
Yeah, she was great in it.
She really is. Like, she's doing such a great job of bouncing between the innocent Giselle and this evil stepmother character so well.
Yeah.
But why do I begin? Because like this is not Giselle. It's like they pressed the reset button on her. Like all of that development that she had towards the end of the first film. It's like the film forgot that she became a much more fleshed out character who had a better understanding of this world and what's the word, like the social culture of this world and everything like that, and what's considered like weird or embarrassing, what doesn't work in this world.
Yeah.
It's like she's just gone back to the princess she was before she came to New York.
Plus, she's been there for like 10 years now.
She has. She really should have like adapted way more, but she's gone back to like that trope.
I think it sounds wonderful. I love festivals. We have them all the time where I come from. They were usually interrupted by evil forces of some kind, but when they weren't, it really brought people together.
And the other thing is that I don't buy that Giselle would put her homesickness before Morgan's wants and needs. She would definitely put Morgan's needs first.
Monroeville is the perfect place.
Perfect for you, maybe, not so much for me.
This is what I mean. It's like a different character, and like they're only moving house so that the film can have its plot, not because it makes sense for Giselle's character. Naturally, it doesn't. Yeah. She wouldn't. She. I mean, like the real Giselle would be appalled at herself for doing something like that.
Yeah, like I never understood what they moved house for.
Because she wanted someone more like Angelasia.
Really? Was that the reason?
Yeah, that was the reason. That was the reason. She felt homesick, and that's why the whole family moved and had their lives dramatically changed.
Yeah, nah.
So that she could feel less lovesick, less homesick.
Enchanted one, Giselle would never.
It's kind of suggested that they're maybe moving because the family is getting too big for the apartment, but said apartment isn't that tiny. Heck, it's quite big and fancy for a New York flat. I also don't buy that Giselle would have made that wish at that time.
No,
like, things were not that bad.
Yeah.
Like, she really over-exaggerated how bad things were to the point where she would make a wish to change reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It happened way too soon. She should have lost a lot more. The lot should have been... it should have been much harder for her. She really should have been kicked down to the point where it's like, you know what? I don't have anything now. I need the wand.
Yeah, it's kinda... That was, like, the first thing she thought to do instead of the last.
Her incentive is basically, my stepdaughter doesn't want to call me her mom. A Karen is being mean to me, and my husband finds his new job boring. I know, I need to completely bend and warp time, space, and reality with magic. This is what I mean. I'm going to say it, this film butchered Giselle. It really did.
Yeah.
There is a great novelty to seeing Amy Adams playing an evil Giselle. And yes, again, she does a great job. Mm-hmm. But you have to wait ages till she gets to the point where she can really lean into that character. You have to wait till the finale until she's like really 100% into that role.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what they marketed about this film. That's what they wanted people to, like, see about this film. And, like, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter being really disappointed. Like, I wanted to see more of evil Giselle. Like, it's very anticlimactic how little you see of evil Giselle.
Something I really love is, like, the idea of, like, someone fighting for supremacy of their own body, like via mental turmoil. Like, that's something I enjoy. Like, I enjoy that kind of like inner conflict, and by that I should I'd love to have seen either more of it or like
lean a bit harder with it, because it was almost like they were just doing the same thing with that inner torment. It was just the same thing throughout the film. It was just constantly like, oh, I'm nice, oh, I'm bad. It was just a flicker between those two things.
Yeah, like, they stayed the same level until the transformation. There was never like, it's taken over more and more and more. Yeah,
they could have really leaned way more into like slowly really like you can see a real fight going off between them both, and it's like, no, she just suddenly becomes towards in the finale because they need her to be evil in the finale. Yeah. The thing is, I'm gonna say a lot of complaints about this film, and I mean a lot, but there are things I do like. Again, I liked Amy Adams' performance, and I really like how Nancy and Edward and Giselle and Robert have a healthy friendship after switching partners.
Yeah.
There's no bitterness, there's no jealousy, there's no kind of like, oh, how could you like change things around like this? Everyone just seems happy, and they seem like they're just getting on. They could have actually had some conflict between them of like, oh, you know what, you stole my girlfriend. Oh, there's none of that fuss and drama. I liked that. Something
that I thought was kind of, I want to say it's pointless, but I know that it's not pointless, but I thought the baby was pointless. But I know that it's not pointless because that's where the wand comes from. But literally, after this baby is given the wand, like, the baby is useless. We never hear from the baby again.
It's not even, doesn't even belong to the baby because Giselle ends up using it. It's like, that was another thing that confused me. It was like, wait, okay, this is for the baby. Does the baby make the wish? Do we have to wait till the baby's old enough to make a wish? When it's like, no, Giselle just makes the wish. Why wasn't it?
That could have been a moving present, you know.
I know. I was about to say that. Yeah, it could have just been a moving in present for Giselle.
Yeah.
And, like, she didn't need to have a baby. Like, the baby had no impact on the rest of the film whatsoever. It was just a cute baby just there.
Yeah. Which is a shame.
Like, they don't even, like, tackle her, like, oh, how hard it is to raise a teenage daughter and a baby. Like, they just carry on with life.
I know.
How on the nose was this film about its foreshadowing?
Oh, very.
Painfully on the nose. It's like, as soon as you meet a character, it's like, oh, so when she makes a wish, they're going to become that character.
Yeah.
As soon as you see the Gardeners wearing their, like, Sleeping Beauty style colour scheme, you're like, yeah, they're going to be fairies later on. Oh, they're fairies later. The film has no faith in the audience being able to follow subtle foreshadowing.
And that's what I mean about the other movie being released in the right time. Because now we have this.
This film is what Enchanted could have been, and we're glad it didn't become.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like very on the nose with the references. Like,
oh, don't get me started.
It's like, see the evil queen's like sidekicks. At one point, they're literally dressed as Anastasia and Drizella, wearing their exact outfits.
Yeah, there are way too many obnoxious Disney references. Mm-hmm. Like, you have characters literally mentioning existing Disney characters, like you said, like Rella and Maleficent and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A tale with Maleficent and with Cruella.
You've got the Little Mermaid reference. You've got the scroll that sounds like Edwin, the Mad Hatter.
Where do you think all that magic comes from? Andalasia, that's where.
You've got tons and thousands of Cinderella callbacks all the way through. The film is so busy paying tribute to all of these, like, the whole Disney library, that it just doesn't take the time to tell a good story.
Yeah.
Because most of it is just a remake of Cinderella.
Yeah.
It really is. And the thing is, the first film, yes, it had its references, but it focused way more on satirizing Disney and being its own thing.
And like, if you knew it, then that made you go, "Oh, I've seen that." But like, if you didn't know it, it wouldn't ruin the movie. Yeah, like, this movie is what I thought the first one would be, and that's why I never watched the first one, because I thought it would just be like this. I loved, like, in the first movie how you got that kind of family drama, but in this the family's all split up, and then like they kind of just like throw the dad away. They had no interest in him in the movie. They didn't want him to be in the movie, so they were like, "Oh, let's just make him like Edward and make him go on quests." Frivolous quests, and I don't know what they were trying to do with Robert, but when they were
I think he was supposed to be some kind of Prince Charming, and like, and again, like you were saying, he's going off and doing his own thing.
Yeah,
he's just going off and doing his own thing.
A lot of his scenes were really pointless, like the dragon scene and then the ogre scene. Like, they didn't tie into they didn't come back. They didn't appear at the end and help or anything. Like, he didn't slay them, or he didn't wrangle them so they could help in the end or anything like that. He was just, oh yeah, I'm away doing my quests. Okay, bye.
I think what they were trying to do with Robert was teach him that having an exciting and adventurous job can actually be dangerous compared to a boring, ordinary job. So you should settle for a career that makes you unhappy, even if it crushes your soul, which is a terrible lesson for adults. We also get a villain. Well, another villain, technically. Yeah. Malvina, is it? Malvina or something like that? I can't remember now.
Something Monroe.
Something Monroe, yeah. We'll just call her Monroe.
Okay.
I didn't like her.
I didn't like her either.
I think the biggest problem is she's really miscast. Like, I like Maya Rudolph, but like, this is not her wheelhouse.
I don't think I've ever seen this actress before. I mean, she has like a really unique look. But I didn't enjoy. I don't know if it was her or the character, but there's something just about.
I think it's a mix of both. It's a mix of both, really. Yeah. But I'd say it's mainly the miscasting, because she's best known for like She's best known for Saturday Night Live.
Right? Is she like a comedy queen?
Yeah, and like whenever I saw Monroe, all I saw was just like an SNL actress cosplaying as the evil queen from Snow White.
Oh no!
I didn't see anything else. Like, I didn't see an actual character. I just saw, it just seemed like an SNL sketch.
Oh dear.
And it doesn't help that the film has the budget of an SNL sketch as well.
Yeah.
And like, Maya just completely fails to command the screen as well. When she's on screen, I'm just like, Oh yeah, she's the villain.
Yeah, it feels more like panto rather than like threatening.
Apologies, Your Majesty. I don't know what's happening.
I do. It's that wand she's been so coy about. It's dripping with magic. Even a fool could see it.
I never got to the point where I was either scared of her,
Yeah,
or I hated her to the point where I wanted her to be defeated. I didn't feel either of those things, especially when you compare it to Susan Sarandon. Queen Orissa is not only like a smarter character, but also a far more interesting character and far more colourful, far more fabulous, and like Susan Sarandon plays with a lot more flair.
The most powerful thing in the world. Ah, I don't think so. You have no idea who you're dealing with.
Like, when you see Susan Sarandon come on the screen, like, yeah, that is a Disney villainess.
yes.
I believe that. Like, she looks like she's been dragged straight out of Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
But with Monroe, it's like, yeah, I just see Maya Rudolph as doing her little sketch.
Yeah, like I thought she was like, when you first meet her and she's like the president of the homeowner association or whatever the heck she was, like she is quite intimidating, and you do feel bad for Giselle.
Yeah, she's a good Karen, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I think she did make a good like Karen, but not a good Disney villain.
I'm sorry, Giselle, but you can't have a table on school property unless you're an official member of a committee.
Heck, I would say that Amy Adams actually was a more believable villain. She put way more into making both Giselle seem sinister and also kind of like campy and like Disney villainy, and like you felt like she was turning into a Disney villain.
I believe you are in my seat.
You were right about the whole flare thing, because like when I'm thinking of the first villain right now, and I'm imagining her with her arms out with lightning, and she's walking along like the city and with her massive heels, and she's so commanding. And then like I'm thinking of this one, and she's sitting in her throne, just like not really. She's just sitting there.
I was not a fan of the villain's minions either.
No.
I really wasn't. They were way more annoying.
Yeah.
And useless. Like they were no Nathaniel.
They didn't have distinct personalities either. They were just the same person twice.
Which is kind of what Anastasia and Drizella were, but like, why don't you do a spin on that? Why don't you do a spin on that?
Mm-hmm. But I mean, even then though, like Anastasia though was like had slightly more empathy, just a little, not by much. But then Drizella was like really more hateful. But like these two, I'm like, they're literally the same character twice.
Yeah, and it's like I said before, how Monroe is like a panto act. The minions are even more of a panto act.
Yeah.
Your Majesty, Ruby wants to tell you something about the wand. Oh, does she? It was her fault.
Tacky. That's the thing I would say about most of them. It's tacky. It's a very tacky film. What did you think of the film songs?
I forgot there was songs.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I really don't. All the songs are so forgettable. The only song that stood out to me was the villain song.
Yeah.
But that's because every villain song is good.
Yeah.
I've rarely ever heard a bad villain song. Like, I can maybe like pick 2 or 3 out of my head.
I think it's the most, like when you said songs, I was like, was there songs? Oh yeah, there was that villain one and it was okay, but I don't remember what it went like or a single line from it.
I can't remember. I just remember being the only one that had any kind of personality into it. Because it was 2 villains having a villain off.
But then like when Giselle tried to sing, she got cut off all the time.
I really have nothing to say about the songs because, like, I look back at them, I'm like, wait, what were they? I couldn't remember any of the names of the songs. Not even the villain song. I couldn't remember the villain name.
And I love like a villain song like battle. Those are always really good. But again, I don't remember this one all. I'd have to go back and
really
listen
don't.
to it.
If the songs for this film were done by Alan Menken, then I'll be really sad because it shows that he's possibly losing his magic.
Possibly.
Which is, that's really sad.
That is sad.
He's an icon.
Like, I get that they want to up the stakes from the last movie, and like, what's more stake-uppy than like ending a world and colliding them? And the CGI was really good. I liked all the trees coming up and the buildings falling.
Really?
I mean, it's fine for me. Like, you know, like I'm easy to please. I'm easy to please when it comes to stuff like that. Like, I really don't care.
It looked like Descendants quality to me.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the whole film did not feel like a Disney blockbuster. Like, and that's something I've noticed with a lot of new live-action Disney films. Is like, it looks like they're not putting their budget in. The film is definitely trying to focus on like a mother-daughter arc. What did you think of that?
See, because it's so all over the place, I forgot about that. Because, like, if you were to say, what's this movie about, I'd be like, oh, it's about Giselle and this evil homeowner association person. But to answer your question about the mother-daughter thing, I thought, like, at the beginning when they moved, it was kind of sad because, like, the daughter's all moody and, like, the dad goes, oh, that's just what teenagers are like. And Amy and Giselle's all, like, torn up about it. And she doesn't know what to do. And
it's a good setup. That's the thing with this film. Is there's lots of great setups, and then they just drop the ball.
It is set up well, but it's knocked down not very well.
No, it's like they definitely have an idea of what they want with the mother-daughter storyline. They were like, okay, it's about being close again, and like the power of memories and remembering the good times of being mother and daughter before the teenage years, that kind of stuff. Great. But you're so busy turning Morgan into Cinderella that it detaches from the whole point of that. It's like it goes its own little direction and then comes back to it being about the mother-daughter thing.
Because they bring in the memory tree thing and you go, oh yeah, that's important, that's going to come back later. And you're just waiting on it. And it never comes until right at the end.
Memory tree is a great idea and a good way of like connecting it to before everything was changed. Because like at the beginning of the film, we had Giselle showing like her own memory tree and being like, oh, okay, that's going to play into the film later on. It's like, kind of, sort of, but not really.
Yeah, sort of. She rips it up, and then you go, "Oh, so what was that for?" But in the animated world, it makes all sense when she touches it, and the tree lights up and comes back to life, and I like that. And then, but like I feel like the relationships in this movie just kind of fall apart. They just fall flat.
They really do.
Yeah,
they really, really do. It's really sad because that's one of the best things about this franchise.
Yeah.
So, what is your final conclusion to this film?
I would watch the first one and then just pretend this one doesn't exist, or just watch some reviews on it instead of actually watching it, and give like some YouTubers some views instead.
Yeah, a lot of critics have been destroying this film. Speaking of reviews.
Yeah, like I can't wait to watch reviews on this now, because I don't know what it is about bad movies, but I love watching reviews on them. It's just so satisfying.
I would say that altogether, it's quite a hollow, disjointed, and messy film. And it wastes so much interesting potential in favour of Disney patting themselves on the back and remaking their old properties' ideas, and it just wasn't worth waiting 15 years for it. It just makes me sad more than anything as an Enchanted fan.
Yeah.
And the only thing that really saves it at the end of the day is Amy Adams.
Yeah.
And even then, like, she was even better in the first film. The idea of an Enchanted sequel is great, and what they had could have been great.
They're there.
So I know the answer is really obvious, but seeing as this is a versus video between Enchanted and Disenchanted, which do you think is the superior film?
Oh well, I need to weigh the options. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the first one, hands down. There's no competition here. Absolutely
no
none.
Competition. And I was kind of hoping that there would be some interesting competition when we did this video. I was thinking we could like really compare and contrast and see which film did something better, what film did. Just see which films did what better. But what did you think? Maybe there's some of you out there that prefer Disenchanted. If so, why? Let everyone know in the comment section below. I've been Jamboriki.
I've been Sora Star.
Cheerio, folks.
Bye.